Hi, I'm Andy, a collection specialist at Credit Sage, and my goal is to help people learn how they can remove Mrs BPO LLC from their credit report. And in many cases, without paying their debt at all. So if that's you or even someone you know, I am confident that you're going to walk away from this video knowing what the next best step is to take. Now, I want to preface that by saying that that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take action. If you know or you believe that Mrs BPO LLC or any of the other accounts on your credit report are the result of identity theft, or if they have the wrong balance after you've already paid, or any other major issues that are seriously affecting your life, you may be owed a settlement. And in those situations, we work with a network of local attorneys that will work on your behalf at zero cost, win or lose, in addition to getting the account permanently deleted from your credit report. Or if there are no issues like that exist, and you just want the account removed from your credit report, we can help with that too. I'll put our phone number in the description below. Please give us a call today, and we can talk through what your options are. Now, today I want to talk through some of the important questions that we get about this company. And the first one I think is really important, and that is, can you be arrested or get jail time for a debt with Mrs BPO LLC? And, I put this one at the top of the list because I get a lot of callers that are terrified that this could happen. And really it makes sense. We're really not taught how credit and debt work in school. I didn't know the answer to this question until I got into the business. And now, fortunately, the answer to this question is that unless the debt is specifically related to unpaid taxes or unpaid child support, you cannot be arrested or get jail time. So I hope that sets your mind at ease. The amount of the debt doesn't actually matter either. So you could refuse to pay $1,000 or $1 million, and you will not be arrested or get jail time. So who is Mrs BPO LLC, and why are they on your credit report? They're referred to as a debt collector or credit collection agency, and they buy debts, unpaid accounts like credit cards, for example, often for very cheap, and then they try to collect the full amount from you. And I'll give you an example. So imagine, for a moment, you have an unpaid credit card with Capital One, and it's $1,000. Mrs BPO LLC could, in theory, come along and buy that debt for just $100. But they don't try to collect that amount. They try to collect the full $1,000 from you, which gives them a 10x return on their investment. So, if you think about it, these companies can make a lot of money. And damaging your credit score by reporting the debt to your credit report is a primary strategy they use to scare you into paying. However, what a lot of people don't know, again, because we're not taught this sort of thing, is that paying a debt on your credit report does not actually remove the account that's attached to it. That account will sit there for 7 years, damaging your score, paid or not. So a lot of time, paying isn't actually in your best interest. It could just be a waste of money. Now, in rare cases, it can actually hurt your score even further. Now, in addition to credit reporting, they may send scary letters. They may call a lot, even calling family members or colleagues at work. And again, if collectors have ever threatened you or harassed you during non-business hours, that's another reason you may be owed a lawsuit. So again, that's another case that you want to give us a call so we can connect you with a local specialist that will take action quickly. Should you negotiate a settlement with Mrs BPO LLC? So settling your debt with Mrs BPO really depends on your goals. Typically, if you are wanting to improve your credit score, paying isn't your best option because, again, as I mentioned before, even if you pay the collection, it will remain on your credit report 7 years damaging your score that whole time. So that's not going to help you. Instead, we always recommend working with an expert like us who can review these accounts for you. And if certain issues exist, then the accounts can be removed completely. And you've got yourself a win-win. You won't be wasting money on debt that won't help your credit score ultimately. And the negative account gets removed from your report. So it's really perfect. So how do you remove MRS BPO LLC from your credit report? So the Fair Credit Reporting Act gives every person the power to challenge information on their report. Now, I will say that the the knowledge required to do this is a bit more involved than it might seem. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn how to do it. It's good knowledge to have, but just be prepared to spend weeks, maybe months, really learning how to do it properly. However, if you'd like to hire a professional to handle it for you and ensure it's done properly the first time and save that extra time, we're happy to take care of it for you. We've dealt with MRS BPO many times, and they regularly have issues. And we've helped numerous clients deal with them, and we'll take care of it for you too if you prefer. How can you get MRS BPO LLC to stop calling you? So this is a good one. So now, as I mentioned before, they will be calling you. It's an attempt to collect the debt that they've purchased, which ultimately means that they'll stop calling you when either you settle your debt with them, which we talked about, or you work with a company like ours to potentially have them removed from your report altogether. Will MRS BPO LLC try suing or garnishing my wages? So suing is unlikely. It can happen, and it does happen, but in our experience, it's really rare. The reason is that there's a lot of laws around how long they can sue for, what they can do if they win, and it's a long process. However, if we're able to find certain issues with the account, they won't be able to collect at all, which is another benefit of using an expert. And I got another question here. What are my rights when dealing with MRS BPO LLC? So you have the right to dispute any of your debt that MRS BPO LLC has purchased. They are governed by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, or FDCPA. And as I mentioned before, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the FCRA. Now, these acts can seem complicated when you first look at them, but the bottom line is they provide a great deal of power to the consumer if you know how to use them. Now, if you don't know how to do that, and you don't have the time to research these acts, it's not a problem. You can call us today, and we'll discuss your options. Again, I'll put our number in the description area below. Thanks.